Hey you guys, welcome back to our channel. Welcome to all subscribers, old and new. You guys, so we've been talking, right, a lot about finding our joy, or creating it. Okay, we'll be talking about learning a lot more about ourselves through different activities like great hobbies, all the things, right? And we've also been talking about boundaries. Now, I made a few videos about boundaries before, and basically, one thing I haven't like really tapped in on was the fact that you don't really need to announce your boundaries. Okay, that is not something that you don't need to go around telling people what your boundaries are. Okay, your boundaries are basically up here, or in here, and it's those things that as you learn and grow, you feel you start to recognize, yeah, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't want this person treating me this way, this person treating me that way. But it's not something offhand where you're gonna be like, okay, well, hey, my name is such and such, here are my list of my boundaries. No, 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 no. We might, I mean, hey, if it works for you, it might work for you. I don't know. But really and truly, like you guys, you set your boundaries as situations come up. Okay, as situations come up, you guys, and whether you're out with your friends, whether in your household with your family and loved ones, whatever the case may be, like, and something happens and you feel a certain type of way about it, that is a time. That is a time to take. You might want to take a pause for a quick few seconds, okay? And then you might want to pull the person aside or whatever the case may be, depending how abrupt this situation was. But that's the time where you want to, let whoever or whatever happened, let them know this is a boundary for me. Okay. I remember, growing up, you know, y'all. I remember growing up where, it's not, it was okay for adults to basically kind of talk about, your body and things of that nature, and just be like, and not even like in a sexual way. We're not talking about anything like that or whatever, but just more like, saying certain things, whether you were overweight as a child or whether you were, you had a body as a child or whatever the case may be, you know. And I guess it was like it was okay for, adults, to be like, look at this, da, 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 da. You know what I mean? And it's and at that age, you may not have a boundary. You may not have boundaries, or, and back in those times, it wasn't something that was very much talked about. So it wasn't something that parents, would talk to their children about. Like, if you feel uncomfortable about this, that, and the other, then you say this, then you say that, or whatever. And sometimes you grow up and you kind of, it takes you a while to get to the point where, okay, well, this is definitely a boundary for me. I didn't like it then, I don't like it now. You know what I mean? And but once you get to that point, you guys, once you get to that point where you are growing, you are learning, and you are just, just about yourself, and you start to know the things that you like and you dislike, and certain situations come up, and sometimes sometimes, that's how funny the world is. Sometimes the universe sometimes put us back right where, if lessons have not been learned, you about to learn that lesson today. Okay, because sometimes, let's say, you had those situations growing up, and then, years later there's family reunions, and some guys, it takes a lot for certain older generations to learn different things, and to be, to feel like, for them to learn that, okay, well, this is not ideal, this is not something that we should be doing, this is not, you know what I mean. Some people are stuck in their ways, some are not, but it is what it is. But the fact is that you've grown. It's been years. You are a grown up. You are an adult. You know what you want. You know what you like. You know what you don't like. And if something occurs that's very similar to how when you were growing up, whatever, it's what don't start off you know what I mean? Like jumping on the family member, like yo, especially if it's not needed, if that's not needed, you know what I mean? Because some things will be needed, you know what I mean? But if it's something where you can be like, okay, well, look, this was happening from way back when, and I really don't appreciate it. This is a boundary for me. Yada yada. You state your piece and you move on. Sometimes that's how boundaries work. It may be things that we should have had boundaries about before, and you never didn't, you know what I mean? And something might, and now it's like, okay, well, I know who I am, and it might be things that are brand new. You guys, you learn boundaries because you're learning more and more about yourself every day in a regular, okay? And more boundaries are going to come about. More and more boundaries are going to come about because, as you learn, you grow. And as you grow, like, you have some non-negotiables, you know what I mean? Like, don't talk to me that way. Don't put your hands on me that way. Don't, like, don't make me feel this type of way because you are going through what you're going through. There's boundaries, okay? There's tons of boundaries out there. So as I would just, as I was just basically thinking about boundaries, it's just like, it doesn't have to be something where it has to be like, okay, here's a list, you put it on the wall, or you put it on the refrigerator, here's a list of my boundaries, you guys, like, don't cross them. It doesn't have to be like that. It shouldn't be like that. It should be something where the people that you surround yourself with, that you are in constant contact with, that, as something comes up, you're able to speak on it. Okay, don't cower back. Be able to speak on it because nobody knows your boundaries until you say something. Okay, that's first and foremost. Nobody knows they shouldn't do certain. I mean, there are certain things you should know not to do. Period. But people will try you. People will still try you. But however, when those times come up, that is the time for you to speak up. You guys, speak up, speak out, whatever the case may be. Okay. Let people know what you stand on when it comes to you as an individual. Point blank. Let them know where you stand. Let them know where they stand. And just keep it pushing. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like, oh, like, and if it turns out like that, then those people aren't for you anyway. They're not for you because they basically disrespecting you because they don't care. They do not care. So when things occur and that is when you need to speak up. That is when you need to take a step back, if you need to, because sometimes our minds be cluttered too. It's not like to say, oh, this person is an evil person or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But you have to be able to take a step back, take a breather, rewind a little bit. And yeah, if you confirm to yourself, you confirm, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. You need to speak up. You need to speak up. You need to let them know your boundaries and keep it pushing. Okay, so yeah, you guys, I just wanted to make it clear because I didn't want to come off like, okay, well, like, yeah, we're gonna get these boundaries written out, laminated, put on a wall somewhere, and but yeah, you guys, definitely take, as life happens, as things occur, that is the time to let people know where we stand with our boundaries. You guys, I hope this helps. Hope you resonate with this, you guys. Y'all, thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I hope you guys are just flourishing and having an amazing, amazing week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, you guys. Go follow your girl on TikTok, okay, and IG, and all the things, you guys. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Find your joy. Find your joy, you guys, or create it.